So this is a list I've been thinking about doing for quite a while now, and now is probably the perfect time to do it. I've always had a bunch of recommendations to do lists about toilets that you should buy nowadays, but unfortunately, it's a little harder to say because most of them suck. Like, out of all the new toilets I've reviewed so far, I have recommended 3, and they're not what you're thinking. One is the Kohler Kingston Ultra, which is a wall-mounted flushometer toilet. Another is the Kohler Worf Highline Pressure Light toilet, the modern version, but only the 1.6 gallon version. Mind you, it's a pressure-assisted toilet, not really a residential toilet. The only residential toilet I have recommended thus far that is still made to this very day is the Mansfield Summit. Most other modern toilets have been either or just straight up trash. But today I'm going to be talking about the 5 toilets you should absolutely never buy. Today we are really looking at the bottom of the barrel. The toilets on this list have to be made to this very day. If it's a discontinued model, it's not on the list. These are toilets that are still made currently, and ones that you should absolutely stay away from. So let's get started. Let's get this one out of the way because I put it in the thumbnail. The Niagara Stealth. I'm mostly referring to the 0.8 model, the original one, because it's the most popular. Let me tell you, if you know me that well, you know I absolutely loathe these things to death. I think this is easily one of the biggest scams people are falling for, and it's all because of some stupid gimmick. Now this is a line I'm going to constantly repeat when I review Niagara fixtures. Eventually. Niagara is a gimmick company, and that is it. They have so many ways to save water, it's honestly kind of asinine. They have so many stupid gimmicks and features that it's honestly insane to think about. And the water usage reduction is ridiculous. 0.8 gallons per flush? If I didn't think that 1.28 gallons was a scam, which it obviously is, I've made this pretty public before, what do you think I think about this? Now you guys are probably anticipating a review of this toilet, and trust me, I will get to it. Much later though. But trust me, even though I haven't really found too many of these toilets, I already have a bunch of crazy stories about these. Some of these will get a slight bit vulgar, but I'll try to keep it as PG as possible. I'll put a timestamp if you want to skip over it. But anyway, do you want to hear about the time where I found one of these unflushed with solid waste in it, and the moment I flushed it, it instantly clogged without hesitation? How about another time where I found solid waste and another one slap dab in the middle of the bowl, right in front of the front rim jet stream, and it refused to move. 3 flushes and it didn't even move an inch. It was like permanently glued there. How about the time I took the tank lid off of one of them so I can observe the flushing mechanism that it has, the stealth system, and the moment I put it back on, it refused to flush. Apparently it eventually started working, but temporarily, it put itself out of order for a minor inconvenience, taking the tank lid off. Or how about the very first one I ever found, which didn't even flush out 50% of the time? So you're telling me that you want to waste time going through this pathetic waste of porcelain that has so many problems, it's honestly crazy. Combine that with a system that breaks at every minor inconvenience, all for a useless water-saving movement? This toilet is easily one of the biggest scams out there, and frankly, you should avoid it. Don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. So I was thinking about putting a one-piece class 5 in this list, but the particular one I want to put in this list is discontinued. So I'm just going to go for the classic newer style Worf and Highline class 5 toilets. I honestly don't understand why this thing is so popular. In fact, I may have a slight theory on why this thing is popular, but it's kind of out there. But really, this is probably one of the most overhyped models I've ever seen. Most of the functionalities absolutely suck. The pulling factor, the flush, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on the ball rinse. But these things are so popular, and this thing has a following. I just don't get it. Most of the functionalities of this toilet, and most class 5s in general, suck. I honestly just don't get it, and most of it's just overhyped and over-exaggerated. Like, I've heard how amazing the performance is, but I've already seen several of these clogged on normal use, for goodness sakes. It isn't terrible, but it's not that great. And then you got everything else which just doesn't work. Even if you hold the handle down, most of the functionalities would still not be very good. Even if you replace the dreaded aqua piston, which is one of my biggest grievances with these Class 5 toilets, it still would not be a good product because it wasn't designed goodly to begin with. I literally think the only reason this toilet is popular is because of the nice design, which is literally the only quote-unquote good thing about this toilet. If you're even going to buy a cola toilet, just don't buy a Class 5. Literally buy anything else. Heck, even buy a 1.6 pressure light over this. Well, probably don't, it's more expensive, but you get my point. Literally anything else is better than the Class 5. Most things. The next toilet I'm going to be talking about is the American Standard Champion Pro Toilet, or as I like to call it, the Hobby Lobby toilet, because these things are practically at every Hobby Lobby now, and I don't get it. Man, I tell you, this thing is definitely a champion at sucking hard. As much as I think the Cadet Pro is pretty overrated, I can still find better reasons why you should buy that over a Champion Pro. This thing was a disaster straight out of the gate. This is basically a Champion 4, but with so much worse qualities. Worse quality control, worse performance, somehow even worse tolerance than it already has. Heck, even the flush is worse. This is one of those toilets that just doesn't seem to get improved no matter what I can do. I even tested one by holding down the handle and the flush was not improved at all. I've even found several that couldn't even flush out. Like, this is like early 2000s American Standard quality control, for goodness sakes. It's pathetic. And the fact that this thing is just getting paraded around like everywhere, like American Standard really wants you to buy this toilet for some reason. But why would you want to buy this thing when it's such a disaster? Every quality about it is just a straight downgrade from every other AS toilet. Which is not saying much considering that most of them are crap anyway, but there are better reasons to buy other AS toilets than this. Another toilet you should really stay away from is the ProFlow EDG Hill toilet. This is actually one of the earlier ProFlow designs introduced all the way back in 2009 and is still made to this very day. Why? I don't know. This is honestly a design that should be retired at this point because this is yet another toilet that was practically a disaster when it first released. You can expect most of the terrible qualities about any terrible toilet. Terrible flush, terrible ball rinse, terrible quality control, crappy performance, you name it. But this thing has such weird bad qualities that even I didn't see it coming. This is one of those toilets where the tank parts are not really adjustable. Not only are they cheap, but they're pretty much strapped down, meaning that you can't really modify it unless you replace most, if not all, of the parts. That includes the base. I've rarely seen toilets with problems like this, so this is a really asinine one, honestly. The fact that you have to replace some parts to get better results out of this toilet, why not just buy another toilet instead of wasting a bunch of money on parts? That probably won't improve much anyway, considering that, like I said, the quality control is just horrible. There are better ways to spend your money, and this toilet is not one of them. The final toilet we'll be talking about is the Gerber Maxwell toilet. I'm not referring to the Gerber Maxwell SE. I'm talking about the regular Maxwell model. The first time I ever saw these toilets, I kinda knew they sucked. This was a toilet I was not expecting to be this worthless. There is not one good factor about this toilet at all. Every functionality about this toilet sucks. The flush, the performance, the ball rinse, quality control barely even exists on this toilet. Not to mention that this thing can also have inconsistent designs. I don't know what Gerber was thinking with this toilet, and the fact that this toilet has been around for 10 years and is still being made with no changes is shameful, honestly. It's honestly a shame to see this downfall. We went from having good 1.6 gallon models in the 2000s like the Maxwell and the Avalanche to this abomination in the middle of the 2010s. The downfall from grace could not be documented any better than this abomination. Stay away from this toilet. Even though I've tried to convince people to not buy modern toilets, I'm not going to convince everyone. I at least hope you learned a little something from this particular video. The 5 models you should never buy in the modern day. I hope you guys learned something today. To stay away from these particular models. Trust me, you will thank me later.